Hi, I'm Greg from Second Thoughts East Yorkshire. The subject for today is valuing ourselves. Have you struggled with depression or anxiety? Sometimes people may have either, sometimes both. Either can accompany other health issues too, both mental and physical health problems. Just to explain the main difference between anxiety and depression, because they're very often grouped together, depression is far more than feeling down and having low mood. It can be feeling empty, unable to raise any emotion at all. Trying to find any positivity can be a huge struggle. Anxiety can be very different in many ways. It can result in you worrying about absolutely everything, emotionally overloaded. Everyday tasks that you used to do without even thinking can be impossible to even contemplate doing. Sometimes we may have anxiety and depression at the same time, which makes life extremely challenging indeed. When we're struggling because of depression or anxiety, our self-esteem can go through the floor and we lose all sense of self-worth. This results in 5 things. Firstly, we don't acknowledge anything we do well. Secondly, we compare ourselves to other people constantly. Thirdly, we find it hard to forgive ourselves. Fourthly, we overanalyze absolutely everything. And fifth, we wonder how anyone could like us when we don't like ourselves. I'll go through all these issues one by one in a little more detail. The first one, we don't acknowledge anything that we do well. I'd like you to think of someone you've helped in the past, a family achievement from any time in the past. It may be a family event or a day out or a meal, anything at all. Some good work that you've ever done, anywhere you've ever worked, either paid or unpaid, or maybe even at home. Something you've made, cooked, or maybe knitted or sewn or made from wood. Anything at all, anything artistic perhaps. Someone you've listened to when they were struggling with some problem and felt really down. Any charity work you've ever done. Any voluntary work, whether it's formal, i.e. for a charity shop, for example, or informal, helping neighbours with shopping or getting prescriptions. It could actually be something as simple as just watching this video in order to help yourself. I'm sure you'll have found something in that list that you've accomplished. Feel good about doing that. You've done really well. And remember, it isn't boasting to acknowledge the things that you've accomplished. It really isn't. The second element was we compare ourselves to other people. Excuse me. Is anyone perfect? The answer is absolutely not. Do you look at others as being more capable? Why? Why do you do that? Do you ever stop to think that they may well envy you? They may well do. How do you think others view your abilities? What evidence is there for that? Why do you think that? When you think about it, do you like everyone that you ever meet? The chances are the answer is no. And similarly, not everyone that you meet will like you. Although it may seem so, it can be nothing personal. That sounds a bit ridiculous, really, until I explain. Now, there's a psychological term called schema. And a schema is a process that people's brains use to create a complete picture when there are only tiny fragments of that picture available. I'll explain. It may be that something about you reminds them subconsciously of someone else who they've had a negative experience with. It could be your accent, your tone of voice, your hairstyle, even the way you walk. This can result in the other person's subconscious sending a warning signal to them to be on guard, as it were. Now, the role of the subconscious is to safeguard you, but the subconscious doesn't rationalise things. It doesn't think things through. So, for example, if you have a limp on your left-hand side, not a lift, but if you had a limp on your left-hand side, and that person in the past had been hurt by someone else who has a limp on the left-hand side, the subconscious will send a warning alert, because all it bears in mind is the fact that you have a limp, not that you're a different person. It doesn't rationalise, it just sends a feeling of unease. So it may well be that you just don't have any rapport with that person, or they don't have it with you. It's not at all your fault, Sadly, it's just part of life. It's part of us being animals, as it were. Always try to bear that in mind when sometimes it doesn't happen. You can't establish rapport and you just don't click with someone. And it can happen the other way around as well. There's sometimes when you'll meet people and there's just something about them and you just don't get on. And it could well be that. The third element was we found it hard to forgive ourselves. But why is that? Do you analyse everything you've said or done? Yes, probably. Then do you reanalyse it again and again and again? Now that happens a lot at night, doesn't it? The problem then is, because there's nothing to distract your mind, you keep on overthinking it, you overanalyse it. If that happens, try getting up for 20 minutes or so, pop the TV on or read a magazine, just to clear your mind, and you become sleepy again and you'll be able to relax and nod off again when you go back to bed. If you just lay there in bed, you just keep thinking the thing over and over and chewing it over again and again and again, and you'd be awake for hours. Do you wish you'd said something or hadn't said something? Now, that could be that day, that week. Sometimes when you're laid in bed on a night and you're over-analysing this stuff, it could be something from 5 years ago, 10 years ago. The chances are the other people have completely forgotten about it. It's just you going over it again in your mind. What happens when you do go over things again and again? And the short answer really is nothing, isn't it? Other than our mood plummets even further. Ultimately, can you change the past? No, no one can. You can't do things that have not been done in the past, and you can't undo things that have. All we have control over is here and now. Now, for a moment, I'd like you to reverse the role. How would you advise a friend if they had this problem that's keeping them awake on a night? What would you tell them to do? Now, try doing just that. Take that advice as though it was from your friend. We're all good at helping others, but not ourselves, sadly. The fourth element was how could anyone like me when I don't like myself? What do you think are your faults? What are you basing that on? I bet it's your own opinion, or it may well be that that's been tainted by someone who's made you feel inferior or manipulated you in the past. But you're not inferior. And the chances are highly that people will see you totally different to how you envisage yourself. People see the good in others. So often we can be dragged down by our own lack of self-belief. When you meet people who you know are struggling with shyness or feeling anxious, do you empathise with them? I would think you do. Because one of the things about anxiety and depression is we struggle with it because of sensitivity. How important is sensitivity on a scale of 1 to 10, say? Well, for me, it's definitely 10. I think it's one of the most positive human traits that there is. Really important. Never apologise or feel bad for being sensitive and picking up on others' discomfort. I think it shows humanity. It shows that you're a caring, loving person. Now, finally for today, if I ask you what you do for a living, how many of you would say, oh, I'm just a housewife or house husband? Americans call this homemaker, so I'll use that word if I may. How many of you say, oh, I'm unemployed, or maybe I don't do anything, I'm retired? Now, you know when you apply for a job, they send you a job description with an outline of the job and a list of essential and desirable criteria. Something like this. Well, I've prepared this as though it was a job as a homemaker. And let me read bits from it and see if you still say, I'm just a homemaker after listening to this. The role of homemaker is complex and demanding, irrespective of gender, age or background. The range of skills required is not linked to education, training, work, experience or qualifications. The role isn't time constrained, the hours are numerous, no fixed agreement from government or trade unions. It doesn't have any work time regulation protection or any third party support from unions or ACAS. There's no salary, no holidays, no additional benefits and no promotion prospects. I'm really selling this job to you, aren't I? But it's a job that many of us do. The duties include catering, so it's planning and cooking meals and food portions. Includes hygiene, so it's keeping the house clean in every way, including laundry. There's administration. So you're often managing on a very low income and making sure that your paperwork's all in order. You're seeing to all the mail. You're making sure all the appointments are kept. You're handling all telephone calls. Then there's building maintenance. Even if it's decorating and just doing minor repairs around the home, may well be on your own or may well be helping someone else. There may be childcare or looking after other adults for some of us. So that's assisting with homework, recreational activities, social activities, providing personal assistance perhaps to the elderly. Then there's logistics, travel, whether that's public transport or in a car perhaps. But you're managing all that, so you're looking at schedules if it's public transport, timetables and so on. Budgeting. When I mention budget to people, many people say, oh, no, I don't do that. But we all do it, really, from being a child when you have pocket money. If you get whatever, say £2 a week, £10 a week, whatever it is nowadays, you have an income and you have expenditure, and that's all a budget is. Very posh word, just means looking after your money. Health and safety always sends people to sleep, but we're always doing mental risk assessments all the time. Saying to a child, can you pick up that Lego because I'll stand on it, which is inevitable. Don't leave that knife on the table, someone might cut their hand, all that sort of thing. The person specification, the criteria, and these are all essential. You need to be caring and understanding. You need to be versatile and adaptable. Excellent conversational and communication skills, because you might be dealing with someone perhaps who has limited capacity. So maybe someone with a learning difficulty perhaps, but also you'd be working or talking to professionals like GPs and other professionals, maybe a bank manager or something. So we need to be adaptable with our communication skills. You need to shelve all your own personal ambitions because you're supporting everyone else. Total dedication to others living within the home. If you live alone, you must be capable of doing every task alone, or very often for some people, if you're living with someone else, you may still end up doing it all on your own anyway. You need to be patient, to reassure and encourage. You need to strive to be capable of everything that you do and still remain positive, and that's hard. You have no days off and you're on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. There's never any time off. And you need to have endurance because it's a very permanent role. Now, I know, as I said before, I've really sold you that job, and I can't see people actually queuing to get an interview for it. But it's part of everyday life. It's what many of us actually do. Now, I'll pop the job description at the end of this post so you can download it if you want to look at it. And it may be helpful if you're looking for work in the future to take some of the things from this job description and put it on as though you've had a job. So instead of just leaving a gap on your CV, you can say homemaker and then list all the things off this job description. And any employer will factor that in. I have in the past when I've been doing interviewing. Very important. So if you want to download that, you may find it useful at some point, or perhaps for one of your family members. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you've gained something from it. Please leave a comment at the end of the post and message me if you'd like any support or to talk about any of the subjects we cover on these video logs. I'll be back soon with some more videos. In the meantime, stay safe, take care, and good mental health. Bye-bye.